Hi, I'm Kesenya and welcome to Guiding Star Astrology. This is the next in our series on the moon with the planets. Now today we're actually not looking at the moon with a planet per se. We're looking at the moon with a point in the sky, the north node. That's what we're looking at today. So if you have this in your chart, this video is for you. Well, how do you tell if you have this in your chart? Good question. One of the things you can do is pop over to astro.com, www.astro.com, which is a fabulous resource for any aspiring astrologers and people who are interested in learning about astrology. It will give you, if you pop over there, you will be able to plug up a chart similar to this one. Now, this is my chart that I've been using for years. It's very well tattered and well worn, but if you plug in your details to astro.com, you will come up with a chart that looks something like this. You'll need to know your birth time as well, and down the side we've got a list of glyphs that we can use as a resource. We're looking for the moon's glyph, and then we're looking for the true node glyph down here. And if you happen to see that these two fall together in this wheel chart, that will, in a single sign, these are the signs here, that will tell you that you have your moon with the north node, if it's with the symbol for the true node. So if you've got that, then you have the moon conjunct with the north node. Well, what does the moon represent in astrology? The moon is the mother energy. Now, we often think of it as being a maternal energy, and yes, it is that, but it's actually more corresponding to the capacity to nurture. And we can nurture anything. We can nurture a garden, we can nurture a pet, we can nurture a business. Anything that we grow to from its infancy to its fullness is actually nurturing, and the moon is that nurturing energy of the mother. It's also how we will relate to our mother and how we will tend to mother our own children. More than that though, the moon, and very personally, the moon is to do with our emotions. The moon has to do with what we need to be emotionally satisfied in life, to find a sense of fulfillment. It's also how we will express our emotions and explain our emotions to the world through how we demonstrate them. Where we feel safest and most secure is also seen by the moon. It correlates to our home and the realm that we live in, where we are most ourselves in our most private space is seen by the moon as well. And the moon also correlates to past life karmic experiences. What we've known karmically in past lives can be seen by the placement of the moon as well. Well, what is the north node of the moon? Well, the north node of the moon, it isn't actually, funnily enough, a planet. It is a point in the sky. It's where the moon and sun's ecliptics cross, the northern point where they cross. This point in the sky in mythology was represented by a dragon that had been cut in half, and so the north node represented the head of the dragon, and the tail represents the south node of the moon, which we'll be looking at in the next video in this series, conjunct with the moon. But the tail has to do with our past and where we get rid of things, excrete them out like you would do at the tail end of things. And the north node has to do with our destiny point, where we're heading to in life and what we are insatiable about, what we want more of, what we're consuming, like the head of the dragon looking to eat more and more and consume more and more. Rahu, or the north node, is very desirous. It's a desire point. It's what we hunger for. It's what we will crave and seek out in life. It's also quite a volatile point. It is connected in similarity to the energy of Uranus, actually. So it's unpredictable. It likes change. It correlates to foreign people and foreign situations, so people from overseas and so forth. It's very much an unstable energy where we all, like I said, we can't predict what's going to unfold with the north node. And it's also about what we're heading into. As I said, it's our destiny point, but it's what we're heading into in life, what we're going to get more of in life, and where we are focused. The North Node matures after the age of 42, and that's when we start to notice more and more and more in our lives the effects of the North Node, for good or evil, starting to play out in our existence. And it's often, we notice in life that around the early 40s we go through these what we call midlife crisis events. They are actually cyclical. Midlife crisis stuff and midlife expression correlates very much to what we're going through cyclically with Saturn and Uranus and Neptune, but also with the maturation of the North Node too. We start to come into our own with what the North Node represents. But I'm not going to go into what that is for you today. This is not a lesson about how the North Node plays out in your individual chart. We are actually looking about the effects in the natal chart of this insatiable, ravenous North Node with a huge appetite for progressing in life and moving forward when it's conjunct with the moon. So what are the good effects that we can notice occurring in our life if we're born with this conjunction? Well, it can make us very passionate. The North Node is a passionate energy. It's full of desire and therefore passion as well. And we can be very passionate for causes, particularly patriotic causes. The moon is a very patriotic symbology. It's very much, you imagine the mother who gets upset if somebody is attacking her child on the swings at the playground, and she swoops in and she saves the day, and that sort of mother protective, mother hen energy, and combine that with the passion of the North Node, and we become very passionate protectors of our family, of our community, of our country as well. So we become this very passionate protector when the North Node is conjunct with the moon. And we will go all out and to the ultimate extreme for our cause. Now, one person who had this signature was Gandhi. He has his North Node and the moon in the same sign. They're over 10 degrees apart, but they are together in the same sign. And he's a beautiful example of someone who was passionate for his country. So if you have this signature in your chart, you too might be passionate for your country or your family or your community or your home, and you will be the passionate protector of these things. It's a signature that gives fascinating and really powerful psychic abilities when you have the moon. The moon is intuition. It's the intuitive guide in our archetypal astrology. And Rahu is this, it gives connection to other realms like Uranus does. As I said, Uranus and the North Node are quite similar in many ways. And so there's this connection to the divine realms in a sort of electric way. So if you happen to have this moon, Rahu or North Node conjunction in either the 12th house or the 8th house, my God, your psychic abilities are going to be off the Richter scale. You will just be tapping in and tuning into people all around you all the time. It's very, very powerful in these houses, but also if you don't have it in the 12th or the 8th house, it will still be powerful in the other houses as well. But it gives you access to these secret realms of hidden energies and the divine realms and sort of unseen places, the things that we don't see in the tangible reality that we live in on the planet Earth, but that exist energetically. If anyone's watched The Matrix, you'll know the kind of thing I'm talking about here. And so we get access through our intuition, which is the moon, to these realms of secret energy and entities. And it's very important for people who've got this signature to know how to put psychic boundaries in place to protect themselves from negative energies and negative entities, because they're very susceptible. So if you have this signature and you feel like you're constantly being attacked by energy vampires or jealous people or people who want to manipulate or control you, then you do need to do some research to find out ways that work for you to put boundaries in place to protect yourself from these things. So you might like to connect with an energy healer who can give you some tips or tricks, or some sort of shaman or shawoman who can help. These places would be very good places to go if you need some solutions in that area. It's actually a signature for brilliant writers, because the moon is highly imaginative, and the moon is actually a planet that corresponds very effectively to people who are writers. You often see a prominent moon in the charts of people who are like particularly novelists or people who have great flights of imagination and fantasy in their writing will have a strong moon. So here with the North Node, this gives fantastic imagination and a capacity to channel that imagination effectively. This is also going to be particularly strong for you if you have this placement in the 12th or the 8th house, but also the 3rd house, which is about writing, speaking, communicating, maybe even the 9th house, which has to do with publishing also. So this can give you certain abilities in that regard. And as with any North Node placement, we get more and more and more of the particular placement or energy or house wherever the North Node falls. And in this case, if you have it with the moon, you're going to get more moon qualities in your life the older that you get, particularly after the age of 42 when the North Node matures. So more caring, more nurturance. You'll be giving these things more, giving more care, giving more nurturance, but also receiving more care, receiving more nurturance from others as well. More intuition, more emotional intelligence the older that you get. It's not so strong in your youth, and we'll talk about that later, but the older that you get, particularly after the age of 42, the more emotional intelligence you will carry, and it's going to grow in life. You might develop more patriotism or more motherliness, maybe more of a connection to your home as well. The older that you get, you're going to increase in receiving these moon qualities. You might even get obsessive about these things because Rahu is to be obsessive, to not be able to distract your attention from these things. And so you might become more obsessive regarding these things as you get older as well. It can give you a very much an out of the ordinary type personality, really unique, really sort of unusual type of personality. It can take you to highly mystical states and creating you really extreme capacity for creativity, the moon conjunct North Node. So that's wonderful if you can channel it into an effective area that you can utilize to support your life. You'll have a big desire because Rahu or the North Node is all about desire. So a big desire for the things that the moon represents. Maybe you will have a big desire to be the patriot, or to run a business, which the moon is sometimes connected to. It's like I said in the beginning, the moon is about nurturing something from its beginning to its fullness. So particularly the things the moon rules in your individual chart. So let's say that you had the moon in the 11th house, as Gandhi did. You might have a big desire for being the leader of a large group of people, moon in the 11th house, moon coming from that realm, or whatever Cancer represents in your chart as well might be somewhere that you have a big desire for. Let's say Cancer is in the 6th house and you have a big desire to help people of humble origin and people with diseases or fix problems in some way, and so you'll have a big desire for those Cancerian things that are ruled by your moon as well. So you need to know your chart a bit to know how that might play out for you. But big jumps in life, big sort of leaps and bounds, which the North Node brings us, especially if we have an eclipse or a karmic window where the North Node returns to its natal position. These times in life will bring great frog jumps into destiny regarding property, regarding family, maybe real estate as well, your heritage and your roots and your lineage that you come from, your family line, your maternal line, and even like being a nurturing type of person can really open doors to success for you when you have moon conjunct with the North Node. So these are the good things to celebrate and to enjoy and to sort of lift up in your life. But what about the challenges? And there are quite a number of challenges when we have the North Node conjunct with any planet, but in this case it's the moon. So this is where when we have the North Node conjunct with the moon, we can be not quite connected to our heart. We experience a lack of fulfillment with the world. It doesn't satisfy because the Rahu is insatiable. It wants more and more and more. It's never satisfied. And what is the moon? Where we get our sense of satisfaction from. So we find that our heart and our mind are not connected. and we don't ever seem to achieve that sense of satisfaction. We are just always trying for more, chasing more, trying to achieve more, looking for more in whatever realm the North Node and the Moon fall in. So that's one of the unfortunate, difficult effects of Moon with the North Node. So there's a tendency to live in the realm of imagination and fantasy as well, and this is part of what leads to being discontent with the world as it is. Now, it can be, a motivator for change. You're so discontent and not satisfied with the world that you are the one who's out there making changes, trying to make it right and fix problems and lead humanitarian causes, or change your own world. Maybe you lack money or lack something and you're out there trying to make the change happen. So that's what discontent can be, a catalyst for us to bring change into our lives. And I will have some remedies at the end of this video for how you can best address some of these problems. Now, it doesn't mean that you are never going to live a happy life. Far from it. You will probably have great successes in life and great joys in life. But you might find that at times there is this discontent with the way the world is, and a difficulty in finding satisfaction that keeps you running, keeps you moving, keeps you chasing something. Now, one thing to watch out for is that it's an indication that we see in the charts of people who are stalkers. So if you find yourself constantly looking up that girl's profile online or looking up that guy's profile online, and you've got this signature, just pull back a bit. Chances are you might be enacting that kind of stalker vibe. So watch out for that. And if it doesn't manifest from within you, where you're being the stalker, you might attract them. You might find that you're attracting into your life people who are stalking you or watching you, or, that kind of thing. There's this obsessive quality with it wherever Rahu falls, and we can be quite obsessive about other people if this happens to fall in the relationship houses, like the 5th house or the 7th house, even the houses of networking and friendship, like the 11th house as well. So just watch out for that one. There is this element of not being able to control the emotions. As I started by saying, the North Node's a bit insatiable, and it's also a bit unpredictable as well. So the emotions, which are represented by the Moon, can be similar. We can be a bit unpredictable with them, and we sort of fly off the handle one minute, and the next minute we're like a child who's just been handed an ice cream. Yay, thanks very much. So a bit unpredictable with emotions. Don't know how to control them. They can be a bit chaotic, and this can be the case until we get to our late 30s and early 40s again, when the North Node reaches its maturation. And when that happens, we start to settle down. We start to finally understand, I know how to manage my emotions. I know how to work with this. But up until the age of 42, we're learning to master it. It's unfamiliar. We're not used to it. We haven't really done emotional management in a lifetime before, or if we have done it, it's been so long ago we've forgotten, and we need to revisit this lesson in this incarnation. So we're learning it, we're falling down, we're getting back up with the lessons of emotional intelligence, and then after the age of 42, when the North Node matures, we suddenly start to come into our own and get it. The penny drops, so to speak. So I'm going to give the appearance, because Rahu, or the North Node, externalizes things. So we're going to give the appearance of being an extrovert by nature, but actually we're probably compensating in that regard for not having skills of emotional control. So we're just over the top and out there, and look at me, and here I am. And that can sort of be one of the difficult effects of this combo. We might have no confidence with our emotions, so we go to the extreme. The North Node is extremes. We go to the extreme with our emotions to try and compensate for our lack of confidence in these areas, in emotional realms. We'd be over the top. We're overreactive. We're over emotional as a reactive measure to not having confidence in this. Now, in a woman, because the Moon is the feminine energy, and our curves and our breasts are seen by the Moon, or ruled by the Moon, and the feminine qualities of a woman, particularly a mature woman rather than a young lady. Like, that's the moon, and that's what the moon rules. And so when Rahu, the planet of desire and insatiableness, is with the moon, we express and externalize that as a woman. We will express this feminine, sexy, curvy, desirable body and persona and emotional presence. So we give this aura of supreme femininity. And this is really desirable to men when they see women of this nature. However, caution, it's an illusion. The moon's feminine qualities, they're externalized, but this is an illusion, or it's a deception. These qualities haven't been developed. Again, it's a bit like the overreaction that we just spoke of with emotions. Like, they haven't been developed, and so we overreact and overcompensate for what we're not confident with. Maybe our femininity we're not confident with, or we exacerbate, it's probably not the word I was looking for, but we accentuate our feminine curves and what have you, more so than, say, the ordinary run-of-the-mill woman without this signature might do, as a compensation for our feeling of lack of femininity. So we're projecting them in a manner that's just over the top and to the extreme. And often, unless these women who carry this signature are really working on themselves, on their spiritual life, on finding a sense of peace and centeredness in their heart, unless they're women who are working on those sorts of things, they are going to tend to not be emotionally healthy enough to maintain a relationship for the long term, which is really unfortunate, but it's part of the process of life and incarnation that we learn lessons through our journey here. It doesn't mean they won't have relationships. They'll probably have a lot of relationships. But this is a signature that can be very, very difficult because of this. Now, in a man's chart, the moon represents the feminine part of themselves, and also the woman the type of women that they're going to be drawn to be with. And if a man has the moon with the north node, then they're going to be drawn to north node moon types of women who project this supreme femininity and sexiness and so forth. But it's just this illusion. It's not really there. Watch out if you've got this signature and you're a man looking for a partner in life, because you may tend to attract more unstable, emotionally unstable types of women. And maybe that's not what you want. Or maybe you love that. Maybe you love the drama. Maybe you've got a strong Scorpio influence and drama is something you get off on. So if that's the case, bonus to you. So that's just what we would look for in terms of the relationship component of the moon there. But these people with the north node, men and women with north node conjunct with the moon, are fascinating people, really interesting, unique people. They're lively to be around, but they're just not all that stable. You know, we would call them maybe a little bit crazy. And I grew up with some people in my childhood who probably fitted a lot of this bill. And every time I go through north node moon qualities, I'm like, I must look up their chart and see, did they have north node with the moon? Because it would make a lot of sense. Drama queens, people who are drama queens, you know, the kind of people, you know, I'll give you an example from my childhood, but, you know, people who would come back from their school holidays and they'd tell you all these crazy stories, and you'd be there thinking, could that really have happened? You know, would your parents really have taken you to a nudist beach for your school holidays? You know, that just seems a bit far-fetched. I mean, what parent would do that, you know? Things like that, where they love the drama, they love the attention, and everything's a big deal, and I'm the center of attention, let me, you know, these kinds of people. There's an obsessive nature to these people, where they just are so focused on one realm of life, you know, that they're focused and honed in on that. Makes them very sensitive to things as well, north node with the moon. this lack of focus, like I just said, that they're focused on one thing because they're obsessive, but there's a lack of focus in other areas. It's hard to follow through. Their emotions are easily thrown off balance. For example, you might decide, oh, I'm going to go and do an apprenticeship as a hairdresser or something. And then, you're 3 months into the course and you think, oh, no, you know what? I really I want to work with wood. I'm going to be a woodworker. So you go and change. And so there's this jumping from one thing to another. Your passions change and it's hard to settle and focus on one area unless it's the thing you're obsessed with, of course. Now, Rahu is open to outside influences. Like I said in the beginning, there is a need for people to put boundaries in place with this to protect themselves, because Rahu is very open. There's a connection to like the psychic realms quite heavily with Rahu, and he is open to other realms, other entities. He soaks them up. And this can be one of the causes of why you will continually change direction in life and jump from one thing to another. And again, the energy of Uranus plays in here, which Uranus is to change. Uranus is to flip from, a bit of a roller coaster ride. Well, the North Node gives that effect as well. And as I said, in the late 30s and early 40s, you will become more emotionally centered. You will become more genuinely feminine if you are a woman, and more stable at an emotional level and more balanced. So there is hope. It's wherever Rahu is for anyone, regardless of what planet or what sign it's in or what house it's in, we are all learning lessons with Rahu. So don't think that just because you've got the moon with Rahu or the North Node that you're doomed and you really missed out in life and you got a shonky deal. It's not the case, because everyone's got Rahu somewhere. Everyone is learning lessons and going through the roller coaster ride and trying to balance and manage their life up until the age of 42 when the North Node matures. Everyone's going through this. So you're not alone. It just so happens that your realm that you're dealing with is the moon energy, which we've just described here. The last couple of things I want to mention is that it is a big combo for addiction. Rahu is very heavily connected to addiction. If Rahu with some planets, it's the kind of addiction that you can't ever break, unfortunately. But Rahu with the moon doesn't mean you're going to be addicted for life, but you need to watch out for addictive tendencies. So this could be addiction to chocolate. It could be addiction to Netflix. It could be addiction to anything, any kind of obsession with Netflix, an obsession with chocolate, an obsession with Big M chocolate milk. Whatever it happens to be, there can be an addiction that you find yourself drawn to with this placement in some way. Be careful. Go for the chocolate milk addiction rather than the drug addiction if possible. The cause of this tendency to addiction is actually an attempt to balance the emotions, to balance life, because you're feeling vulnerable, you're feeling out of control. So whatever the addiction happens to be will be for the purposes of balancing those volatile emotions and helping you in that regard. So again, if you need to have a crutch, find something that's not going to cause you detriment and harm for the long term. Addiction to meditation, addiction to yoga, these kind of things are going to do so much better for you than addiction to Big Macs. So the moon is connected to being centered and present in the moment, enjoying the life, the moment that we're in. So our ability to have consciousness, our ability to have awareness is seen by the moon. So when it's combined with the North Node, it's difficult, because we're always looking for the next thing, the next thing, the next thing. When's it coming? Where are we going to go next? What are we going to do next? And the ability to be centered and present in the moment is hard. Your mind and emotions always looking ahead to the future, always, counting what's coming up instead of what is in the present moment. So there's this loss of ability to be present in the moment and to find satisfaction in it. That is the big hiccup and hurdle for people with Moon North Node, and it's played out in a number of these difficult components that I've mentioned, but this is the cause, this is the reason, the lack of being able to be present and engaged in the moment that you're in. So what are the remedies? Well, one of the best remedies is to find some kind of counselor or someone you trust, a life coach or a support person who can offer guidance when you're feeling confused and emotionally out of control and you need to get back in emotional balance. So pick someone who is wise, someone who you respect, someone who you trust, who's willing to be your wing person in that regard, and so your go-to person. So when things are a bit crazy and out of control, you've got a backstop and you're not alone. That would be my first recommendation as a remedy for Moon North Node people. Find that really special someone who can do that for you. But meditation is brilliant because it's centering our mind in the present moment. It will be hard. There's no two ways about it. If you have Moon conjunct North Node, meditating is going to be like, really, really difficult. It's an uphill battle for you. And that's just the way it is. But the more you practice, the more you learn this skill, the better off you're going to be. And look, particularly after the age of 35 to 40, you're going to find it easier to do this. If you're 18 and you're trying to meditate and you've got this conjunction, it could be just like impossible. But I want to encourage you to find something that is meditation for you. We think that meditation is sitting cross-legged on a mat and just having no thought. Well, I don't have Moon conjunct North Node, but I can't do it. I cannot sit and do that. Meditation for me is sewing. It's where we lose all track of time and space, where we are immersed in the moment. It's present moment awareness, essentially. And when I'm sewing, I'm in my meditative state. I forget that I've got dinner on the stove. I forget that, I need to go down the street and get some groceries. I am lost in that moment. I am connecting with source, connecting with spirit, connecting with creative expression, and it is divine. I am in heaven when I'm on my sewing machine. Some people, when they walk in nature, find that their meditative practice. They're lost in the song of the birds or the lapping of the water on the beach or whatever. But there are a million different ways to meditate. It is going into space where we are centered and present with source. And for you guys, this is so important. Seek out your particular meditation and do it regularly. It will balance you. It will harmonize you. Whether it's sewing, whether it's walking on the beach, whether it's going for a jog and not with headphones on, but just being present in that moment as you're jogging, whether it's doing yoga, doing sort of sitting on the mat meditation, these things are, causing you to be centered and present in the moment. That's meditation. Mindfulness, same thing. Practicing mindfulness and present moment awareness, centering your awareness in the body. That's another remedy. So it's to sit still and, if you can, and focus on, what does my little finger feel right now? What's the sensation that I'm getting in my big toe? And really noticing your body, putting your awareness within and noticing how you feel. Where are the aches? Where's the stiffness? Where's a sensation of joy in your body? By really going within and exploring that, that's going to balance you as well. Focus on your present experience as much as you can without looking forward to the next best thing. That's not easy to do, but the more you consciously and with awareness practice doing that, the easier it will become. And again, the more balanced you will find yourself becoming. Breathing exercises, breath work, anything like that is excellent for you. You might like to do a class in breath work and breathing exercises, how to breathe with consciousness and awareness. That can be very good. Surrounding yourself with healthy minded people. I cannot underline that enough. Sometimes Moon conjunct North Node or Rahu people are drawn to kind of volatile types or wild types of people, or people who are unbalanced themselves. The more you can seek out and surround yourself with people of harmony, people of balance, people, look, they might seem boring on the surface to somebody as wild as a Moon Rahu person, but they are going to harmonize you and it's really good to have them as your foundational core group. So surround yourself with balanced people, sensible people, people who are kind, people who are wise and knowledgeable. It's very healthy to do that. Finally, avoid toxins and avoid any addictive substances. Actually, be careful about anything that can cause addiction, really. I did mention that. Eat well, strive for balance in what you consume and what you do, and you will do so much better. So, limit the time that you spend on Netflix, limit the amount of chocolate that you have or Big Macs that you have, limit your exposure to alcohol, because you want to avoid anything toxic in your life and anything addictive. The more you do that, the more you can create balance and harmony in your life energetically as well. So that is all about the moon with the North Node. It's quite an interesting position, and I'd certainly love comments in the comment section for this video about your experiences and your insights, anything else additional to this that you've noticed that as a moon North Node person that's played out in your life. Thanks so much for joining me for this video, and we'll have the moon with the South Node for you in next week's video. That will be an interesting one. Don't miss out.